Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, here we are for another AFL 2022 season review. And in today's season review, I'm going to be reviewing Port Adelaide's 2022 AFL season. Now, of course, we are still going in ladder position order as to where the teams finished. And Port Adelaide had a very disappointing year, finishing in 11th after a 0-5 start to the year. So, of course, let's go ahead and see what's going to be in today's episode. So, of course, recapping the season and the ladder position, highlights, best win, good players, and then lowlights, worst loss. I think you can already know what the low light will be for Port Adelaide, though. What's next, trade period and coach, and then the recap and the final words. Let's go ahead, hop right into things. So, Port Adelaide missed the top 8, finished 11th, 10 and 12, despite being in the hunt for most of the season. But that 0-5 start did really let them down in the end. But they finished with wins, 10 wins, losses, 12 losses, point number of 40 and a percentage of 110.3. So, of course, I said that 0-5 start did really let Port Adelaide down in the end. And this is the first part of the season, of course, lost their first 5 games of the year. Lost the Lions by 11 points, which they put up a very decent effort in that game, to be completely honest. They were alright, and their record at the Gabba against the Lions in the past few years had been poor. So this was a bit of a step forward. So next time they play the Lions at the Gabba, they could be in for a bit of a chance, but with the Lions looking to improve, they are going to be a tough side to beat. But round 1, they showed a few early sparks of what they could do. Round 2, they got thumped by the Hawks by 64 points at the Adelaide Oval. At that time, that was just really not acceptable, and it almost geared them up for the bad season they were going to have. And then Hawthorn went on to go and beat Geelong as well in a solid couple of wins for the Hawks. And then round 3, that one was just down to pure unluckiness there for the Power. Lost after the siren. New recruit Jordan Dawson kicks the goal after the siren to win the showdown for Adelaide. And the Power go 0-3 and lose by 4. And then once they lose to the Demons by 32, they're dangling down the bottom of the ladder. Every team has tasted victory bar them. And, they lose to the Demons by 32. And they score 36. And then again, the next week, more unluckiness falls in the Power's favour. They go down by about 50 points, but then come back to lose by 3 to Carlton. So, for their first couple of games, 3 of those games they were okay in. Carlton, Adelaide and Brisbane. They played reasonably well in those 3 games. The other 2 games against Hawthorn and Melbourne were absolute letdowns, but to be completely honest, they really deserve a 0-5 start. I reckon they could have been 2-3 rather than 0-5. And then that win against West Coast by 84 points showed they were back in business. They beat the Saints by 1, and then Friday night fairy tale, they managed to knock off a quality opponent in the Western Bulldogs by 17 points. Then they got on a really good run. They smashed the Roos by 69. That's a 4-game winning streak right there to go 4-5. They get belted by the Cats by 35. They take control of the Bombers by 16. They lose to the Tigers by 12. Then they beat the Swans by 23. That was one of their best games of the season, that one against the Swans. They managed to really tackle a pretty quality side. Had a really classic encounter with the Suns to win by 2. Lost to the Dockers by 8. Again, though, they did find themselves out of this game, but managed to just climb their way back to lose by 8. Smash the Giants by 55. Lost to the Demons by 14 after putting up a decent effort. Lost to the Cats by 12. And then lost to the Pies by 6. Lost to the Tigers by 38. They smashed the Bombers by 84 and smashed the Crows by 56. So one thing that I did notice in their season, though, is that in a couple of games, they did get just too far behind that you just cannot come back from 50 or 40 points down in that last quarter. So it did end up costing them in the end in some of those games where they were down by a big margin against Fremantle 8 points, Carlton 3 points. They were just too far down. And then even some of these tight losses, they still did let themselves get a little bit too far down to compete. Now, some of their really good wins, an absolute epic win against the Sydney Swans. They just absolutely destroyed them, took absolute control. Of course, that last showdown win in round 23 was a good one. The 84-point belting of West Coast and Essendon was something really, really, really amazing. And a 55-point jumping of smashing of the Giants as well was another really good one. Their best win was, I'm going to say, against Essendon. They destroyed Essendon. And West Coast as well. 3 very quality wins there. Worst loss, 0-5. Just that 0-5 start really hurt them. So let's go ahead and talk about their trade period that's up and coming. So Port Adelaide do look set to have another really big trade period coming up ahead. Now, of course, Carl Amon is already at Hawthorn. The day that I'm recording this, he has moved to Hawthorn with their compensation pick being 27. They also could really help unlock this Luke Jackson trade Fremantle as well. But there is a few more big things. Willie Rioli could come to Port Adelaide as well. He could go to the Power. And then we've got Cozzy Pickett as well that could go to Port Adelaide as well. So they've got some really exciting small forwards that could come to their club, which is Willie Rioli and Cozzy Pickett, which of course is trying to fill the void of Robbie Gray and Stephen Motlop. So Cozzy Pickett, not sure about him. I feel like he'll be pretty content to stay at Melbourne, but Willie Rioli is definitely on the cards for Port Adelaide. Mitch Georgiades, I don't think he'll be going anywhere. I'm pretty confident that he'll be staying with Port Adelaide at this stage of time. Now, also, they did miss out on Josh Dunkley, which would be disappointing. But Jack Graham has been rumoured for the Power as well. Now, he's a running defensive midfielder, which they would love to have. He would really fit their style of side. So he's not going to be an easy pickup, though. Same with Cozzy Pickett and Willie Rioli. They're not going to be easy pickups. There are the teams that are going to offer these up, which are West Coast, Melbourne, and Richmond, if these do happen. They're going to be starting for high asking prices. Jack Graham, bit underrated. He's probably going to be a first or a second round pick. Pick 27 surely would have to be done for something, though, I'd be thinking. But again, though, you really don't know. Clubs can start their asking prices really high. As for Ken Hinkley, don't think he's going anywhere right now. He's going okay, but the Power next year really need to make sure they're not getting the games away from them, because against Fremantle and Carlton, those were 2 wins right there. But they just got too far behind in the game, and when you get into a mindset like that, it's very hard to come back. Now, yes, the Suns did display against the Tigers, came back from 42 points, and the Tigers did it against the Lions. But it's something rarely in footy that you come back from around that 40-point mark. They almost did it against the Blues by 50 points, and then they almost did it against the Dockers by 40. But it is really tough when you're in that position, and then there's nothing really to do. And they got so close, but they just got too far down. So a massive trade period coming up for Port Adelaide. Also, one more name they could be getting is Francis Evans, a delisted free agent, so they'll just get him for free as well. So that's a nice little handy addition there. Another small forward that can come in and really help out their side. So Port Adelaide do look to have a big trade period. They're not getting massive names, but they could still be getting some big ones, likes of Willie Rioli, Cozzy Pickett, Jack Graham, Francis Evans are some of the names they could be having at their club next year. So disappointing season from the Power. That 0-5 start really let them down to finish 10-12 and finish in 11th position on the ladder. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Send you guys never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.